Winter of the garrulous aardvark, and southern mouse roper is in the grip of serious blizzards, preventing the movement of armies. A series of attacks in Stilwyn by partisans keep the Maustrian garrisons busy, but have little effect. The Maustrian navy withdraws to port, while the coalition navy begins the journey back to safer waters, slowed by the bad weather. In the north, the weather is less severe, though snowfall is common. Prince Stepke leads his army back into Hertenkäse. Baron Verpelt does not oppose, but instead marches east. West Thuiber continue their march through Zuren, while their navy makes the arduous journey around the end of the continent, bound for the northern seas. Zuren declares war on Maustria and marches across the border into Adorn, joining the Crimsonian army, which is assaulting the fortresses, taking reasonable casualties. Ublico, concerned that Zuren has declared war, sends a force across the La Marca Gap, ostensibly to protect the Ublican mice that live in that region from harassment. Ublico occupies the La Marca Gap and prepares to defend the newly won territory. It is in Sculiet, however, that the primary action occurs this season. The army of Trentus entered the province in autumn, accusing Dunbarra of repeated piracy. They have laid siege to the fortress guarding the city, and expect little resistance. But Commodore Green has convinced the Grand Duchesses that Trentus needs to be taught a lesson. She agrees, and Ublicon brigades enter Sculiet, not Trentus territory, to aid the Dunbarran counterattack. The soldiers are cold and hungry, marching through the snow. General Ludwig of Trentus breaks off the siege and prepares to defend her camp. The Ublicans are advancing from the south, and the Dunbarrans from the west. Ludwig decides to send the bulk of her force to attack the Ublicans before the two armies can combine. In a series of sharp clashes, the Trentish are able to drive off two Ublicon columns in turn, before reforming to face the combined armies. The Dunbarrans attack Ludwig's right and centre, but take heavy casualties fighting uphill in the snow. A column is able to charge the Trentish guns, destroying the artillery, before being forced to retreat. The Battle of Sculiet is a desperate and confused affair of exhausted mice fighting and dying in the snow, and at the end of the short, deadly day, Trentus holds the field. Dunbarra and Ublico are forced to retreat. Commodore Green sends his defiance to the lords of Trentus. This is just the beginning. I have not yet ceased to fight. Spring of the recalcitrant hedgehog, and the weather has turned from frozen to unseasonably hot. In the northeast, the West Thuiban navy reaches the warm seas of the north, while the army turns aside from their southward march and heads to the border with Trentus, joining a small Zurenese army dug in to defend against Ublico. In the east, the coalition army leaves Adun and marches towards Platkov. Lord Flavisham, commanding the Maustrian army, is amazed. He has sent the spring Thor preparing defences, but the enemy apparently refuses to attack. In the southeast, the coalition navy regroups north of Burdain, destroying a Maustrian flotilla that had disrupted their supply lines, while a small force of Crimsonian and Manath infantry crossed the border into the Maustrian province of Revdenii. In the southwest, Stilwyn is on fire, as Maustrian garrisons hunt for partisans and ravage the countryside. A Stilwynese resistance regiment is caught by patrols and destroyed in a vicious firefight. Gudarian, meanwhile, with the army of the west, marches east to the Bergkäse, the royal capital. There is some concern that the Count intends to seize the throne and declare himself king, since most observers thought he was marching north to deal with Prince Stepke. Stepke has spent the spring laying siege to the Maustrian forts guarding Hertenkäse, while Baron Verpelt has taken his army into Ublico. Dunbarra has sent half their fleet sailing towards Tiplef-Nazin, while their army and that of Ublico again enters Sculiet, this time with a more coordinated plan and less snow under paw. The second Battle of Sculiet occurs on the same ground as the first, but this time the combined armies do not have superior numbers over Ludwig, except in artillery. Dunbarra and Ublico have 3 batteries, while Trentus has none. Trentus has a massive superiority in cavalry and light infantry, but will need to attack or else be destroyed by long-range fire. Colonel General Bleu is more conservative, ensuring her army joins up with Commodore Green before engaging. Ludwig sends her cavalry to the left to delay and distract Ublico, while holding in the centre and right. The light infantry are sent to occupy difficult ground to the front to disrupt and delay the enemy. The Ublicons leave some infantry to guard the flank and march on to combine with Dunbarra. The two armies join up and advance together. Ludwig realizes the light cavalry cannot break the Ublicon squares on their own and fall back. The artillery are now in range and open fire, while Dunbarran infantry charge the Trentish light infantry. On the far flank they are driven back by furious fire, but in the centre they are successful, and a brigade chases the light infantry all the way to the Trentish main line. A Trentish Guards brigade countercharges, and the Dunbarans are driven back in turn and destroyed, but the Guards have pursued into the enemy's line and are themselves destroyed. The combined artillery advances to close range. The Trentish need to either attack or withdraw, and they decide to attack. On the near flank, all the available cavalry is formed up to attack the Ublicon right, while Trentish infantry brigades charge the guns. Vicious close-range fire repulses the infantry with devastating effect. The attacks fail, and the Ublicons are able to bring up reserves to face the impending cavalry, while the light infantry on the far flank are finally forced to withdraw. Ludwig gives the order, and the cavalry division breaks into a charge. Two brigades are stopped by the squares, but the light cavalry breaks through. The battle is close run, but the Ublicon guards are destroyed. The remaining cavalry combine to attack the regulars, but are driven back in disorder. The grand charge has failed. Bleu orders her own heavy cavalry to advance, and combined with the devastating artillery fire, the Trentish army breaks and run. General Ludwig is forced to regroup and lead her shattered force back into Osrak. Skuljet remains Dunbarran territory. Vast armies are on the march all across Maustrian as summer approaches.